Welcome to another episode of Dad Up, everyone. Thank you guys very much for joining me. I'm excited for the guest I have on. He's a former Marine, former military, and I'm excited to hear about his backstory and kind of talk a little bit about what his journey has been like, not only in the military but also as a dad and the things that he's got going on in his life. But my good friend, Mr. Alden Mills, is joining me on Dad Up. Welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, Brian, I'm fired up to be here. I love this.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me. Nice to meet you. I'm really excited to kind of dive into your backstory. I know Navy SEALs was a big part of your life, and I'd like to learn a little bit more about that kind of experience as well. But for my listeners, viewers who don't know who you are, let's dive right in. Let's hear about your backstory and then also about your parenting roles as well. This is a parenting podcast. I want to know about your family.
Sure. Uh, for my brief background, I grew up in Central Mass, ended up going to the Naval Academy, was an athlete there, then went to SEAL team, did 3 tours of duty as a platoon commander, got married while I was in SEAL team, and then moved out to Northern California, started multiplying in 2003. I have 4 boys. They are all 2 years apart. They're currently 15, 17, 20, and 21. They're all about to flip in various stages. Got 2 Labradors. Uh, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I've invented a whole bunch of fitness products, things like the perfect push up or the perfect ab carver you might be familiar with, or perfect pull up. And I've written 3 books, all on the theme of being unstoppable. And really, I have my boys to thank for me starting to write, because the first book I really just wrote for them, which was called Be Unstoppable.
Well, let me ask you about that. Why did you write that book for them?
It was the fall of 2002. Jennifer was pregnant with our first child, and our rule was we wouldn't find out what the age or the sex of the child would be, and so it was be a surprise. And my good friend Neil Roberts was the first Navy SEAL to die in Afghanistan. And when you go do a series of SEAL missions, you have to write just in case letters. And I'm sure you have to do the same thing in the Marine Corps. And the idea behind a just in case letter is if you pay the ultimate sacrifice, that they have something more than a flag to leave to their next of kin. And
Hmm.
they'd have a letter handwritten by you. And I'd written 3 of those letters, but those letters were to my mom, my dad, and my brother. And when Neil died, I knew there was an 18-month-old son that was going to get a letter. And, the whole transition of becoming a parent was just starting to hit me as I was watching Jennifer's belly grow. I'm like, uh-oh, what would Neil have written? What was that like to write that letter? So I was doing a lot of travel. So on airplanes, I'd write a letter to my unborn child.
Hmm.
And they weren't particularly good letters back then. It was a series of kind of do this, don't do that. And I try and add some humor in there. And Henry was born in June of 2023, or excuse me, 20 or 2003. And I kind of just put the letter away. I didn't think much about it, but I wasn't that happy with the letter. And then Charlie comes along in 2005, and I do another letter. Not that much better. Again, telling, not so much teaching.
Hmm.
And then John comes along. Again, telling, not teaching. And by 2009, when William showed up, I decided that the letter needed to be more about a story. And, and then I took a couple of years after that to write this letter of a little fictitious seaside town called Up to You. And
Hmm.
everyone's born with a boat. And these boats you can modify, and you're going to spend the rest of your life figuring out how to captain your own boat. And that became this parable that eventually got, after a lot of rejections, got published in November of 2013. And ironically, after being rejected so many times, it goes on to get translated in about six different languages and sold 30,000 plus copies. And now we're relaunching a third edition this summer with Be Unstoppable. And it was really about teaching the boys what I call the eight essential actions to succeed in anything, which was teaching them persistence, right? That it wasn't anything really magical. It was much more about having them understand if they've got a dream, how to continually get up and keep trying. Because when you're doing something new to yourself, you're going to fail.
Hmm.
And how do you get over that and keep going?
Mm.
So there's a
That's,
long story to it.
yeah. And I mean, that's stuff you learn in the military too. I mean,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a parable throughout the whole book, but at the end of each chapter, I flip to how I learned a particular action. And the other thing in the military, what do I use? We use acronyms. And so the book has this acronym called the letter U, persist. It's about you learning how to persist. And I would tell a military story or an athletic story of how I learned each of these eight actions of how to persist and tied into a really kind of fun story about learning how to navigate your own boat,
Mm,
using boat as a metaphor for your life.
right. Yeah, I think that's awesome. I'm really curious because I've talked to guys that have been part of the SEALs. I'm
Mhm.
really curious what drove you to want to go down that path. Did you have experience as far as military? Maybe your dad or a relative that was in the military, or was there just something more about the challenge and sacrifice and maybe learning how to mature and work ethic and all those? I mean, what really drove you to become a Navy SEAL?
Well, growing up, every generation in my family had served in the military.
Okay.
Um, so, but my dad was an Air Force intelligence officer for 4 years. We had my grandfather was in the Army, great grandfather was in the National Guard. Like there wasn't a continuity of, oh, we're a blue and gold family, right? It's all Navy all the time. And when I was in high school, I had learned how to row and got very involved in eight-oared rowing shells. And rowing got me recruited to the Naval Academy. And while I was at the Naval Academy, if you go to a service academy, you have to serve the country for 5 years and then three more in reserves. And you have a couple of years to really think about what you want to do for a service selection. And while I was there, I really was thinking about, okay, what is the next best thing from a continuity perspective from rowing? I loved the team focus, the no MVP, there are no high point scores. It's eight people getting their blades in at the water at exactly the same time. I had grown up in the summers in Cape Cod in and around the water. I loved being by the water. So you could see the natural progression, right? SEAL team, instead of sitting on your butt going backwards, you're sitting on your butt paddling forwards in a little rubber boat. And I mean, you're not doing that very often, but you do that during SEAL training. And obviously, everything in, under, and on the water. And I was a scuba diver as a young kid. And I really became enamored with, okay, that would be the next best thing from rowing. And that's how that progression really started. I will say one other thing. That was a passion piece of it, right? Um, I had this Navy SEAL come up to me, and at the time, I was the captain of the crew, and it was senior year, and he's like, "Hey, Mills, you going to try out for SEAL training?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. What do you guys do?" Because I knew kind of what they did, but there wasn't the internet back then, right? You couldn't just look it up, and you were kind of hearing things for different things. He goes, "Well, you ever been bullied before?" And my mom, when I was a kid, I had curly hair, and she kept my hair really bushy and curly, and I was a big kid for my age, and they always called me Shirley Temple, the bigger kids, and I got picked on relentlessly for my hair. And and we fought in playgrounds constantly, right? The fourth graders picked on me, the first grader. And I was like, yeah, there was this one time. He goes, whoa, whoa. I didn't say I wanted to hear about it. Just want to know if you've been bullied. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I've been bullied. He goes, well, that's what we do. We go around the world and we knock back bullies. If you're interested in doing that, come try out. And that's when, I had this passion and then I got a purpose. And to me, I think in very nautical terms, it was like getting in my own rowboat, and I got two different oars now in the water, both a passion and a purpose
Mm,
behind it. And that's how
mm,
it started.
mm. And I love the fact that you have the symbolism of the oar on your book and also right behind you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, this is the book right there. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
yeah, the paddle has a storyline in it.
yeah.
Uh, yeah,
That's cool.
I love it. It's
That's
my
cool.
baby, that book.
Oh, now what about your boys? Are they military bound? Have any interest?
Well, let's see. Yeah, I've have all four have expressed interest. I've got one is just about to graduate college, and I think he's more interested in intelligence services and foreign service. The next one is a water polo player. He's very interested in SEAL team.
Hmm.
He plays water polo at USC in Southern California, and he's 20, so he's looking at that. And I brought him over to the compound. And then number three is a football player at University of Washington. He's an offensive lineman, and he is going to be too big for SEAL team in the
Huh.
military. He's at 6'7", 350. That's not going to work. And then the youngest, the youngest wants to go to the Naval Academy. He's 15 and he is a freshman in high school and he's a water polo player. So he's to be determined.
Well, that's cool.
How about you? Did any of
Uh,
your boys express interest?
it's interesting. I tried I didn't want to push it on them too much, but
No, I'm the same.
tried to encourage them to maybe consider it. Uh, Mainly for the fact that because they both wanted to go to college and get their degrees in something, and
Yeah,
I said, hey, you go into the military, whether it's Air Force or Marines, whatever it is, you spend 4 years, you get your college paid for. So that's something to consider where you don't have to worry about college expenses. That's something to consider. So I mainly kind of came from that approach to it,
yeah,
but. Yeah, neither one of them wanted to even touch it. They had no interested, not 1 ounce of interest in it. Just had nothing. And so I didn't push it on them. I just encouraged them to consider it, and that was as far as it went. So my older son he has since graduated from college. He's been out of college for now about 3 years, and he works for as an advisor for Charles Schwab, and
great.
he lives in Arizona and he absolutely loves it. That's kind of his bread and butter is the kind of the sales industry, and he's got a desire at some point to be a full entrepreneur in something. But right now he's enjoying being working in Charles Schwab and doing the things that he's doing there. And then my younger son. Similar to yours in playing college sports, my younger son played college basketball for a local university called Hope International University, a private school here in Southern California. He did that for a few years until he got burned out with playing college sports because it takes a lot out of you. He's like, Dad, because I'm over the college, I'm over playing basketball. I'm not going into the NBA, nor do I have any desire to go into the NBA. I just
Right,
want
right.
to I just want to enjoy college, get through with it. I want to have my life back where I'm not spending my hours in the evening and in the morning in the gym. He goes, I just want to have my life back. And so he dropped out of basketball and just finished his degree. Ended up getting done in 3 years instead of the four,
Wow.
which was awesome. And now he actually works for a recruitment company that does they put portfolios together for high school students that play sports, that want to go to the next level and play college sports. So they put like these portfolio packages together for them and then send them off to all kinds of colleges to help to get them scholarships to play.
Oh,
Um,
that's awesome.
yeah, so he does that, and loves it. He works remote 100% of the time, so he's 100% remote, which he loves. But yeah, so he's still in his degree was in sports management, so he's it's kind of like right up his alley. So
What are
um,
your boys' names?
my oldest is Blake, my youngest is Brett.
Brad,
Brett,
Brett,
Brett. Yeah.
Blake, and Brett.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
So, yeah. So that's what they're doing. But really, I wanted to ask you something real quick. You emphasize the importance of leading oneself before leading others.
Yeah,
How do you instill that principle in your own kids, encouraging them to take ownership, not only in their actions, but in their decisions?
that is a big question. And I will tell you, Brian, in any of these things, the first thing I'll start off with, and I really start doing this in ninth grade. When they start off in high school, I get a 3x5 card. And I make 3x5 cards that some people want to have. They like the way I've designed them, but forget about that. Just take a 3x5 card. And I'll say to them, John, what's your goal? What do you want by the time you're a senior? Tell me what happens senior year you're graduating. And he's like, well, Dad, I want to be the CCS champion of our in our football league. And I was like, okay, I don't even know what the CCS meant, but he knew. And I was like, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down in present tense, I am a CCS champion. And then I want you to sign it on one side of the card. And I want to flip the card over. And then I want you to put a line down the middle. On one side of the card, you're going to write actions. And then on the
Mhm.
other side, you're going to just write 5 different times a day. You're going to look at it. And I'm going to give you two of them: the morning and night. When you wake up and when you go to bed. You can pick the other times of the day. But then I want you to give me some actions that you're going to need to do on a daily basis that are going to help you take baby steps towards being a CCS champion. Okay. And I bring that piece up because the first thing is getting the boys inspired to achieve something and
Right.
getting them to say, hey, let's build out your movie. Tell me the thing that you want to star in. I picked 4 years from the time they graduate. Sometimes that card could be just that semester. I want to make the team. Okay, let's talk about what it takes to make the team. So when you do that, you then are able to say, okay, well, let's talk about how we lead ourselves. We are all leaders, every single one of us. You have to lead yourself to get to school in the morning. You're going to lead yourself to decide what kind of t-shirt or shirt you're going to wear, or maybe wear the same pair of socks instead of two different socks, right? Little things like that. And when you take that approach and get them thinking that, okay, if you want that, then this is on you. I can't do this work for you. This is going to be up to you. And then they take that card and they stick it in their phone and they look at it. And I will come up to them at various times every day. And I still do this while they're in college. John Mills, who are you? I'm a CCS champion, Dad. Oh, thank you. Have a good day. And part of the ownership is linking their ability to lead themselves with what they want.
Mhm.
And so, in the broad spectrum of answering your question, that's the technique that I decided, right, that I kind of stumbled on over 4 practices with 4 different boys because we got 4 high energy boys. Sports is a big thing for us in our family. Now they all did two of them did different sports, but that was the idea of getting them something that they were excited about and then teaching them basic leadership techniques of actions that they take that have a ripple effect towards their goal.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. I think it's super important. And one of the things that we learn as parents or as individuals is the importance of writing goals down, and not only the goals, but the action plans. What do the action plans look like to get to those goals? And it's interesting that you bring that up because there is, I coached sports for my boys were younger, ages 4, all the way up through high school. Coached them in varsity basketball in high school at the high school level. And one of these particular years that I had implemented that same strategy where I wanted my boys, the team, to learn how to not just, they could hear the coaches telling them, listen, we want to accomplish this. This is our team goal. We're going to get to this level. We want this kind of success. We didn't, as a coach, I didn't want them to just hear those things. I wanted them to see it. I wanted them to learn how to visualize it. And how did we do that? So I implemented the same kind of strategy where I gave them all note cards. And on these little 3x5 cards, I gave them each 2 cards. One, they both cards are going to say the same exact thing, but one was for them to keep, and one they were to hand to me. And they could keep their name off if they wanted to, but that was the purpose of 2 cards. And on those cards, I wanted them to write 3 personal goals for their basketball season, for that season. So I wanted them to write 3 personal goals. Then I wanted them to write a team goal, 1 team goal. And then I wanted them to write 1 stretch goal. What's 1 stretch goal that is going to be super challenging to get to, but so rewarding if you reach it? So those were the 5 goals that I wanted them to write down. And then I instructed them to do the same thing. I said, I don't care if you keep it in your pocket. I don't care if you keep it taped to the front of your notebook or on your mirror in your bedroom, or whatever the case may be. I want you to be able to look at that at least 5 times a day, where it's once in the morning, once in the evening, maybe once at lunch, and then once in the middle of the day, once in the middle of the afternoon. So those are the times that I wanted them to look at those goals. And I made sure to reiterate that after every practice we had. I said, make sure you guys are checking on your goals. Make sure you guys are checking in on your note cards, reading that stuff constantly. The crazy thing is, when I did that particular season, the amount of success that our team had that year was off the charts. And I'm not joking at all. I'm talking about off the charts. I'm talking about a season where the previous 2 seasons, we had won a total of close to 30 games total that we had played. We had won a total in 2 seasons, 6 games. That's in 2 seasons. We had 6 wins under our belt. That 3rd season, when I implemented this strategy of these note cards, we not only won 3 times that amount, so our win column was up to almost 20 wins, but we got to the CIF playoffs. Then we ended up getting to the CIF championship game, which was the first time in the school's history that our basketball team had made the CIF championship game. And then we won it. We won the CIF championship game, which we were the underdogs of the game. We were complete underdogs. There were freaking newspaper articles going out.
I got goosebumps hearing this story, Bryan. I love it.
Listen to this. There were newspaper articles going out prior to our championship game about this other team that we were playing, and they were naming particular players on this other team and how dominant they were.
Yeah.
And I'm reading these articles going, this is going to be a battle. This is going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
And we ended up winning that game. And I'll never forget, because the media was interviewing both teams after that game. And one of those key players that all these newspaper articles are written about, one of these key players, I remember seeing his interview. He said, I didn't realize that team could shoot that well. That was his response. Like they were shooting lights out. And I attribute that win to that mind shift that those boys made from learning how to implement and focus on goals to make them a reality,
Yeah.
just by writing them down and reading them constantly and believing that they could achieve those goals. And so we ended up winning the championship game. It was the first time in the school's 100-year history that we had gotten that far with that team. And it was quite an accomplishment, but I attribute it to that same type of mentality where you're teaching your boys that, hey, when you write this stuff down and read it and believe it, trust it, it's amazing what can happen, because not necessarily what may change, but just the mindset shift that you make. And we learn this in the military, right? Just the mindset shift that you make can change the trajectory of your life and the things that happen.
Bryan, I can tell you right now, we can geek out for 2 hours just on this topic alone. I did not know that story. I have a complete profound respect for you as a coach for doing that. I bring that up in part. I didn't play any of these sports. I didn't play basketball. I didn't play football. I don't know the X's and O's,
Right.
but I know in here and in the heart. I know that piece. And I would go to a football coach at this high school. It's the oldest high school in San Francisco. It's like 170 years old. And I'd be like, hey, I can come in and do some work if you like. Like, well, what's your football resume? I'm like, well, I don't know anything about football. I'm like, oh, we're good. And we have a new coach that comes in. And he comes in his junior year and he reads my book that came out last year, this one, Unstoppable Mindset, How to Use What You Have to Get What You Want. And he went to USC and he learned under Pete Carroll. And he's like, hey, Pete Carroll, he brought in guys like you to talk to us. Like, will you come in and talk to our football team? This was at the end of their first season. My son was a junior captain, goes on to be the senior captain. And I was like, well, would you let me do 10 sessions with the team throughout the whole season? He goes, team's yours. You can come in, I give you a half an hour every time. And we got the whole team to do those cards this senior season. And what do you think happened? Most successful team the school had had since who was their big quarter? Fouts. Fouts went there in like 1960. Dan
Oh,
Fout,
wow. Oh, wow.
right? And so all of a sudden the whole team, and you brought it up, it's getting them to believe.
Right.
And first they got to believe in themselves. And
Right.
we're going to go through that process, okay? And just what you're talking about, we're building these habits of some winning actions that are going to help them towards that goal. And you know, I do a lot of executive coaching and I do a lot of speaking on stage. It's the same for adults. It's
Right.
the same thing, right?
Right.
It's the same
Right.
thing in business, same thing in sports. It's first we got to rally you and your internal team. Get your internal team in alignment. And then when we get your internal team, what do we do in SEAL team? We get a swim pair. What do you do in the Marine Corps? Battle buddy, right? Okay, now we're going to get 2 people. Then we're going to get 4. Then we're going to get 8. Then we're going to get 16 or however many we're going to put on the field. And then we're going to get those people to back them up. And there's the magic, right? The sum of the parts is greater. The
Yeah.
whole is greater than the parts. So yeah, I'm such a big believer in that. And then when you give your child that early gift of the responsibility of learning, like, oh, it's kind of up to me. By the way, the town and Be Unstoppable is called Up to You.
Right.
And it's up to what do you want? What's your dream? What's your goal? What do we want to commit our time, talent, and energy to? And that's how I think about being a dad, is that
Hmm.
I'm here to help you do it with honor. Make sure that you do it the right way, that the ends doesn't justify the means. Like, let's not lie, cheat, or steal to get there. Let's do it through the hard work and understand the right commitments and build the right habits. But I think every dad, at least from my perspective, you want your child to stand on your shoulders and go to their heights, whatever goal they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here to be their coach. I mean, the fact that you've been a coach for 20 years, like I'm in awe of that. And what an experience that must have been to win the CIF, first time in school history.
Yeah. 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 It's cool.
And
Yeah.
both Blake and Brett were on that team.
No, Blake was already in college at the time. Brett was on that team. He was a captain, and he was in that championship game. He had made the most 3 points, 3-point shots that he'd ever made. He made 6 that game.
Oh,
He was just on fire. He
oh
could not be
God.
stopped. He could
What was the
not.
final score?
Oh my God. If I had, gosh, I can't even remember. I will
Was
tell
it
you
close?
this.
Was it
No,
close? Did it
no, we
come
ended up
down?
it wasn't bad. We ended up winning by close to 20-point difference. Um, but I'll tell
Yeah,
you
so that
this.
doesn't surprise me. When a really good team or they think they're going to win and the underdog, they fall apart.
Yeah,
They don't know what hit them.
yeah. So the crazy thing is that one star player that they kept writing all these articles about, in the first half of the game, he had 20 points alone, his first half of the game. And
Wow.
so we went into the locker room and made some shifts on our defense. The second half of the game, he had 7.
No.
So we literally
Oh,
took
that's
him out of
awesome.
the, literally
Good
took him
job,
out.
coach.
Yeah, literally took him out of the picture. Anyways, well, let me do this, Patrick, for my listeners, viewers. I just called you Patrick. I just got a text across my phone from a guy named Patrick, and I just glanced
Well,
down
tell
at it.
Patrick I say hi.
Right, I will. I will. Well, let me ask you this, Alden. For my listeners, viewers who want to look you up, learn a little bit more about you, where's the best places for them to do that? And then obviously your
They
books
can
as
go
well.
to my website, alden-mills.com. I have a hyphen between Alden and Mills, ALDEN hyphen MILLS.com. And Be Unstoppable is relaunching this summer. You can pre-order it on Amazon
Cool.
or Barnes and Noble.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I'll make sure all that stuff's in the show, links are in the show notes for you. But man, it's been an honor, a pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much for joining me. And maybe one of these days we'll be able to meet up in person and break some bread together.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Thanks for what you do. Keep inspiring all dads. We need everybody to dad up.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you very much for that, Alden. Listen, guys, this has been another episode of Dad Up. I want to thank my good friend Alden Mills for being on. Make sure you guys are checking out his books, his website. You can go to the links in the show notes below. Make sure you follow him, all those sorts of things. You have questions, please feel free to reach out to him. He's very active on social media. And listen, if you are not yet subscribed to my show, please make sure you do that so you don't miss any of the guests that I have on each and every week. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of Dad Up. Wow, another amazing episode in the books. So much was shared, and I'm truly grateful my guest was able to pour into you to help you elevate your dad game and really dad up. Make sure you bang that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're here, please don't forget to leave me a rating and a review. I always appreciate the feedback. And one last thing, don't forget, your role as a dad is one of the most important roles you have. So if you need a little help or have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me on my website at daduptribe.com or at my Instagram page at Dad Up Podcast. Until next time, everyone, Dad Up.